These are the lifetime sales of just one of our whales from one of our creators' accounts who we currently work with, who subscribed earlier this year and now has spent over $25,000 in the last 9 months or so because of an excellent relationship that he's developed with our client. Every single one of our established accounts who we currently work with have fans like this, who talk with the model every single day. What if one single fan could make more than 10 regular subscribers or even 100 regular subscribers? What if you could turn casual followers into die-hard supporters who spend, stay, and invest in your content for the long term? Today, I'm going to talk about this and the process and the overall idea behind cultivating whales, those high-spending fans, and how to maximize the lifetime value, or LTV, of every single fan on OnlyFans, and what to expect when you take this LTV-focused approach. I'll share proven strategies, psychological secrets, and tools you can start using right now so that your top fans aren't just one-time buyers, but long-term supporters. So make sure you stay all the way to the very end of this video to understand the most important part, which are the pitfalls of taking this LTV-focused approach. But real quick, guys, before I get into all this, we are now taking on creators from a chatting-only focused perspective, where it's a much lower percentage than our full marketing and monetization service package that we usually offer. So if you're a creator watching this and potentially interested in an arrangement like this, use the tool pinned in my comments in this video to book a call directly with us to see if there's some sort of fit from that perspective. I also have a free Telegram community to exchange value in my description as well, if you're looking for additional value as well. But yeah, let's get into this shit, guys. So first off, what is a whale? A whale is someone who spends significantly more than your typical fan on OnlyFans, often thousands per month. They don't only spend this in subscription pricing as well, obviously, but instead, it's mostly via PPVs, tips, and customs. They buy fully into the fan-creator relationship without any strings attached. When you look at OnlyFans subscribers as a whole, there are actually 3 types of fans on OnlyFans that you should be aware of: time wasters, content buyers, and lonely buyers. First off, time wasters are people who chat all day long but never actually buy. They can convert after a certain period of time, but it may take a ton of time and effort to do so. We've literally seen time wasters convert literally after a year before. So we never really give up on them, but we use this time when they're not really spending to not necessarily ignore them, but gently reminding them that you're not on OnlyFans for free, and it's how you support yourself. And as much as you'd love to just be able to chat all day, you as the model, you have to prioritize anyone who actually takes care of you. It's really, really important to never just completely give up on initial time wasters, since life events do change in everyone's life. Maybe you get a new job, whatever it is, right? Unless they're just completely rude or a total troll, don't give up on time wasters ever. Just allocate less time for them until they start spending. Next, we have content buyers. These types of fans are there just to buy occasional PPVs, buy wall posts, mass message PPVs, or whatever it is. You don't want to neglect these fans, so you want to put PPVs in front of them to buy, but unfortunately these types of fans likely won't ever become whales per se, since they likely don't do too much chatting and don't do too much DMing too much. So do your due diligence, capture the small amount of revenue from these types of fans from mass message PPVs and other methods, but your time chatting will mainly be spent on the final category, which are lonely buyers. And with that being said, that brings to my third and most important type of fan, which are these lonely buyers, which can be broken down into 2 subcategories: pseudo-whales and actual whales. Pseudo-whales, who are driven by lust and loneliness, may spend a lot up front and initially in the fan-creator relationship, but usually demand free later on. These fans are a high consumer of live sexting content with the creator, but post-nut clarity usually hits really, really hard with these types of fans, mainly because they likely don't enjoy spending too much money, even though they're literally sexting live with the creator. They come to this conclusion usually after the sexting and after the money's been spent, of course. When you chat with these types of fans, you'll see a big dollar sign of overall lifetime spend number associated with them, like maybe a couple $1,000, whatever it is. And then you'll think that they are a whale, but then anytime when it comes to spending, the fan causes headaches, starts arguments, and so on. Sure, these can definitely be attempted to be fixed and resolved, but generally speaking, time is better spent getting more fans to the account and continuing to fish for real whales. It's all about the abundance mindset. Then, the other subcategory of lonely buyers are actual whales, who consistently come back and genuinely support the creators wholeheartedly without demanding anything in return. These fans are also a consumer of sexting, but also consume content of all forms, just to simply support the creator. This is like the fan I showed you at the very beginning of this video. These are the fans you absolutely need to go above and beyond for. If they buy something off the Amazon wish list, for example, of the creator should make a short video how much he appreciates it once it actually gets delivered. Short little good morning and good night videos should often be used. And if you make up some sort of story about doing something in real life, you send a video doing whatever it is. For example, getting your nails done. Have the creator send a picture of her new nails when she actually gets them done. These types of fans typically spend freely and accommodate the model constantly, so it's important not to shove PPVs down their throats at all times. These fans understand that this is how the creator takes care of themselves, and they'll continue to spend without you even asking. These types of fans are where the majority of your effort and time should be when it comes to chatting, as this is where a lot of your money should come from. Even just a few whales can outperform a large number of low-spend subscribers. We've had creators not make content for weeks and even months, which is obviously not ideal for new traffic purposes, but the account survived purely on the basis of whales being treated well. Because of the importance and focus on whales within our agency, we don't even really use chatting ratios as a metric for success for every single account, mainly because we chat on many free accounts and chatting ratios are completely irrelevant for free accounts since there are no subscriptions. Also, the chatting ratio is based on the subscription price compared to the combination of messages and tips. An account with a $3 subscription price will always have a substantially better chatting ratio than an account with, let's say, like $20, for example, simply because if the subscription price is higher, it's harder to 5x or 10x the subscription price of a fan who's paying $20 a month for a subscription, since you would essentially need to sell $100 worth of content in order to 5x it on an account with a $20 subscription price, versus an account with a $3 subscription price where you would need to sell $15 only in order to 5x it. This is why we assess the LTV of the account instead, which stands for, like I said earlier in this video, the lifetime value, as a much more reliable metric. LTV is the total value a fan brings in over the lifetime of them being a subscriber on the account. This includes renewals, PPVs, and tips. And so you can calculate this metric by dividing your account's earnings by the number of actual subscribers you have. This is how you can determine the total amount of money you can make per subscriber, and also assess how effective your chatting is when it comes to relationships and the overall long-term sales. Every account is different, but the typical rough benchmark to assess what a good LTV is roughly $20 to $30 per fan LTV on a free account, or an account with an extremely low subscription price, or a permanent profile free trial. And on a paid page with a higher subscription price, you'd expect it to be maybe 20 to 30% higher than that, but the same concept applies. Now, let's transition a bit and talk a little bit more about identifying potential whales. Engagement should give you clues: frequent messages, active in the polls, liking and commenting on posts very often, asking for customs. These are all telltale signs that a fan is interested in an escalated creator-fan relationship. Spending behavior should also be observed. Small tips, cheap PPVs already being purchased. These act as foot-in-the-door signals. The more they spend, or the more often, the more potential. These types of fans tend to just tip for genuine conversation with the creator. Also, you should be paying attention to the demographics and overall targeting of the fans, otherwise known as the KYC phase, which stands for Know Your Client, part of the relationship, which is often at the very beginning when a fan first subscribes to the account. Typical things you should be looking for are somewhat older fans who are maybe 30 years old or older, people who have disposable income or work very respectable jobs, with a genuine reason to actually message the creator. Maybe they're unhappy in their current relationship, for example, or simply just looking for someone to talk to. The quality of these fans can also be determined via the targeting and source in which they subscribe to the page. In other words, what social media channel did they come from, and why specifically did they subscribe to this creator? These are all things that should be established and understood during the KYC phase. One other very important thing: you need to be able to differentiate between a fan who may pay a lot of money for a few sexting sets versus a fan who will do that but also pay for other things and value a relationship. Whales need to be trained to consistently and repeatedly pay and send tips for content and other things for the model. People who battle against this idea constantly and demand free are we considered to be either time wasters or pseudo-whales, which I previously talked about. Now, let me actually pull up my screen here and share the spending arc of these different types of fans that I just mentioned before. and also show a couple different fans that I pulled from some of our accounts to use an example to illustrate my points here. All right, guys, so here we are. So I pulled up my screen here just to illustrate some of the points that I just talked about, right? I wanted to actually compare the fans' arcs between all the 4 different types that I just mentioned, the time wasters, content buyers, the pseudo-whales, and whales, right? This is what I want to compare, and I actually pulled up some examples of whales from some of our accounts. We just picked a few at random, and I wanted to run through some of these and explain my points that I'm making with these specific fans, right? So I know you guys love these Miro boards, so I'm actually going to go ahead and press present and get right into it, right? So if we scroll back here, there we go. So this chart shows the spend versus the time subscribed, right? And this is just a reference. This is not really like an exact thing that you should be paying attention to. It's just meant to be a visual, right? So I'm going to break this down with the 4 fans, right? So we're going to go ahead and start with, let's go ahead and start with time wasters. So we have, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and this is going to be TW. Don't mind my absolutely horrible handwriting, but a time waster is typically someone who's going to stay down here at the bottom, right? They're not going to spend anything, and this is their arc, boom, boom, boom. And then at the very end, you know, at the very way later on, as long as you stay patient with these fans, what you might get randomly is boop. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it stays down here, right? So time wasters, there's a kind of a spot right here where they will either jump up because a life event changed, like I literally talked about just a few seconds ago, or they'll just continue to be time wasters forever. Obviously, like I said, choose who you spend your time with very, very wisely, right? Now let's move on to content buyers, okay? So let's choose a different color here. Let's choose this color for CB. Don't mind my absolutely horrible handwriting again. But content buyers, so these are people who, you know, they'll start down here, but it'll go so gradually up that they don't ever really become whales, right? This is just kind of their arc. Like, it'll gradually go up. They'll continue to buy content when you put it in front of them and market it properly. But I mean, to be honest, they're not really ever going to become these huge spenders that you're going after and spending a ton of time with. Obviously, you want to capture this revenue. You don't want to just not do it. You know what I mean? You want to actually put the stuff in front of them so they actually buy it. But this is kind of the arc of what you'll see with a content buyer. Now, pseudo whales. This is an interesting one, right? Pseudo whales. We'll go with this one. So PS for pseudo whales, okay? And this is going to get a little bit messy here because of this time waster arc, but that's all right. So pseudo whales are very interesting because they may subscribe and they're built on lust, right? They get really into it and they're built on that initial attraction, whatever it is. They saw her on social media and were just like, damn, this is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life, or it's just exactly their type. And they'll get to the OF and then they'll just spend right off the bat and be like, whoa, this guy's a whale. That's crazy. But then a crazy thing will happen with these pseudo whales, right? They'll kind of stop and it'll kind of plateau a little bit, right? And then it'll just stay plateaued. Because during this phase right here, what's happening is that they're saying, I spent so much on you back here, and, you know, I deserve more than this, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just going to be, it would become very problematic, right? So with pseudo whales, you know, there are ways to recover these fans. Like, I don't want to say that's unrecoverable. You do have to go above and beyond, but I mean, my stance typically is like, just focus on traffic, get more fans to the account, get more real whales, which I will show you the final arc here, which I'm going to dictate with this yellow color. There we go. And then W. Everyone loves gold. So whales, the arc of whales is essentially, it's just very consistent. And usually it's pretty fast too, right? You know, they'll be spending a couple grand per month. That's kind of what we look for, is that they spend a couple grand, and it, you know, you'll see jumps and bruises, but it'll just keep going up, right? This is the most ideal, and it'll just keep going, right? Whales, just keep going, and it'll eventually outspend pseudo whales. Pseudo whales will spend a shit ton up front, right? But now, so that's essentially the arcs. We have the time wasters, we have the content buyers who will just slowly but surely buy content. Then we have the pseudo whales who just plateau and stop buying after a certain amount. And then we have the whales who just will continue to go forever. They're just bought in on the whole entire relationship. Let's talk about some of these fans, right? These are some fans that we've pulled from our accounts. This fans, for example, this guy's been subscribed for about 6 months. He spent about $5 grand, right? This is someone I would potentially consider to be a pseudo whale. We've taken all these screenshots, by the way, on September 10th. I don't know what time this video is going to be posted, but it's probably going to be a decent amount later. But these screenshots were all taken on September 10th, right? And so With this guy, you can see he spent about 5.5K. I consider a whale to be someone who spends a couple thousand per month. So 6 months at 5.5K, he may have plateaued quite a bit, right? But as you can tell, the majority of his money is his messages and tips, right? The subscriptions is literally nothing, right? The subscriptions, what they spend on subscriptions is completely irrelevant. I would consider this guy to be kind of borderline pseudo-whale, whale. You probably still want to pay attention to this fan. You don't want to ignore this type of fan, right? 6 months is a relatively respectable time. This is for sure a pseudo-whale, right? This is a whale who the creator built a good relationship with up front, but then started demanding free, and then he hasn't really been spending as much anymore, right? He's been subscribed for a year, spent 5.7K. The last fan literally was a little bit less than this and much less time, right? So that's kind of an example of a pseudo-whale right here. This one right here, this is a fan because they've only been subscribed for 1 month and they've spent almost 9 grand, right? And by now, today's like September 20th or something like that, he's definitely spent more than 9K. And this is someone you want to absolutely continue to build a relationship with. If he spends this much in 1 month, like obviously he may slow down a little bit, but I would not consider this to be a pseudo whale. This is someone who you're going to want to continue to push and keep in these habits, right? And then once again, this is a subscriber who literally paid $0 in subscriptions, right? This is on a free page. Here's another one, another example, 15 days subscribed. 8.7K, right? And this is another one where the creator went above and beyond, went way out of her comfort zone, went and did a bunch of different customs, created content specifically for this fan, built a really, really good relationship with this fan, and then he spent that much in that amount of time, right? So they're out there. They exist. This is not a pseudo whale. This is a whale. You continue to develop that relationship, they're going to spend this much in that short amount of time, right? Once again, another example, 2 months, 10K. These are all over the place. These are all whales. This is a whale as well. 7 months, like sure, 11.5K. I would not consider someone like this to be a pseudo whale, right? These are just more examples of the same. This is the fan I showed you at the beginning of the video. They spent 25K in the last, the 9 months or whatever. He subscribed in January. This is kind of what you're looking for. You want someone who's spending on average this much over that amount of time. It's very possible. You need to have a very good relationship as the creator with the fan. She's done video calls with this fan where they just get to know each other. She's done all sorts of customs, whatever it is. And the fan is absolutely enamored with her as a creator, right? It's a really good relationship that they have. And then last but not least, we have this fan. He's been subscribed for a very long time. There are gradual fans like this who do spend, this much. I think he's been subscribed for 2 years. Yeah, basically 2 years. Yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We have so many different fans like this on all of our accounts, and this is the goal to eventually get over time. It takes time. It takes time and effort, right? Now, when it comes to actually building the experience and relationship with your most loyal fans and highest spenders, personalization is absolutely essential. Remember their names, their preferences, their past conversations. Use those in the DMs or messages. Make them feel heard and remembered. Sell on the basis of exclusive and VIP treatment. Give them private content. Give them early access and behind the scenes style content. Consistent custom content, even small customs without them even paying, and priority responses always. Make them feel special and that the pricing is only for them and they're getting VIP or discounted pricing versus everyone else who's subscribed on their page. You could even sell VIP packages as well to these specific types of fans. When it comes to communication style, avoid including them in mass messages and generic engagement bait strategies. Use your best quality and effort for the whales. Make sure tone, grammar, style are all consistent between everything that goes on the account with these specific spenders. No cheap spam. Always go above and beyond for these whales. And always remember, small gestures go a very, very long way for post-big spending sprees. Sending freebies, thank yous, follow-ups. This keeps them loyal always. Now, moving on. Funneling and generating new opportunities with whales should not be overlooked either. Use free trials on your account, which I literally talk about on my page here all the time. And then on the back end, use the chatting once they're subscribed as a free trialer to convert them into paying, recurring subscribers. Make the free trial feel like a taste. Send some low ticket PPVs during the trial period to get someone accustomed to buying and developing really good habits, both on your side as the creator, but also on the fan side. Also, Use unique funnels from social media platforms. For example, another agency and one of our partners that we've worked with has developed something called Harpoon Whales, which is essentially a very effective way to funnel fans with high spending tendencies from Instagram and other social media platforms. If you want, you can check it out and start using it for yourself, especially if Instagram is your main source of traffic. I added to the description of this video. But generally speaking, whales will typically do upsells, customs, PPVs, they'll buy everything, right? Create offers tailored to whales or blossoming whales. Custom content, by the way, often yields high ticket income and deepens the relationship so much more. So hopefully your creators are open to making custom content. Then you need to discuss VIP tiers and membership levels often. Set up higher price tiers with more access to certain content, more perks. Recognize the top supporters publicly and privately as well. But let's take a step back real quick here and transition to talk a little bit more high level in terms of retention of the fans you do have and the LTV optimization of them. First of all, you need to have churn awareness. You should be tracking how many fans you lose per month on a month-to-month basis and why. Plan content and communication to reduce churn. Use strategies to make sure fans keep Renew On at all times. For example, send out a free video to all Renew On fans once per month at random, and then on the flip side, send that same video out to all fans with Renew Off, and on the following list with a large paywall saying if they had Renew On, they would have got this $100 plus piece of content for free simply by just having Renew On. When fans keep their Renew On, and the longer that they're subscribed, the higher likelihood it is that they're going to turn into a whale. Keep up the consistency in content and give surprises as well when it comes to posting on your wall and whatever it is. Give regular updates plus occasional unexpected perks or content drops like I just mentioned. Give flash sales for people who just subscribed, and also detail this type of information and publicly on your page. Like even in your bio, for example, or if you use paid ads to get traffic you have running for the creators that you work with, then you can actually state this type of stuff on those paid ads as perks of subscribing to the page. You should always be driving exclusivity and urgency. Limited time PPVs that will be unsent after a certain amount of time, content that is only for VIPs, exclusive content that isn't always available. Get your fans asking about these perks and sell the dream of having a deeper relationship with you as the creator. And then lastly, pay attention to your analytics and categorization. Know who your whales are, tag them, take constant note on them, know what content they like, know when they've gone cold so you can re-engage, use tools and platforms, or just track them manually. Consider different processes to handle whales based on these analytics as well. But now that you've made it close to the end of the video, I wanted to mention some of the pitfalls and mistakes when it comes to redefining your chat processes to focus on whales and LTV. First of all, never overpromise and then underdeliver. This will lead to loss of trust with your fans. With customs, go above and beyond, especially with confirmed whales. If a fan pays for a 5-minute custom, make the video itself 7 to 8 minutes instead, with maybe a few extra pictures as well, just to make them feel appreciated. Another thing you need to avoid is just treating all fans the same by not giving priority to the highest spenders experience and not giving a personalized experience as well. Try and match the chatting style of these whales and how they chat and how long of messages they leave, or if they break it up into multiple messages. If they're super engaging, inquisitive, and talk in long paragraphs, you should too. No one-word answers to long messages from whales. That comes off as super cold and uninterested. Another pitfall is making fans wait too long, with responses just in general, ignoring their messages. All are relatively toxic to whale relationships. However, there is a time and place for delayed responses. If you're too responsive and too easy to get a hold of, a whale may take advantage of that, and then expect that always. They should cherish every single engagement with you. In order to do so, sometimes you need to back off a bit. It's an art. You don't want to do this too much, but you also don't want to not do it at all. This goes back to what I was saying before about making up stories about what you're doing in day-to-day life in order to make these types of delays more acceptable. Also, don't price creep without value. If you raise prices without giving better or new content to the fan will feel cheated, and it's literally not worth it because it'll probably mean they'll go somewhere else. This is why the quality of your PPVs is absolutely essential. Don't take shortcuts here with your content. And then lastly, be conscious of burnout. Maintaining these e-relationships can be very, very energy and time consuming, and it can test your patience. Try to find balance in order to make sure the conversations and things that you're doing don't become a chore. To do so, you should establish systems for yourself. Always set proper expectations with your whale fans and never fall short of what you say, and you'll never burn out with the proper setup. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. When it comes to chatting and increasing your overall bottom line through finding and maintaining whale relationships, you need to study everything from top to bottom, whether it's where they came from, for example, on social media, their engagement, their behavior, or whatever it is. Treat your fans like VIPs until they give you a reason not to. Monetize with exclusivity and retain them with consistency and personalization, and even offers to keep them with a renew on always. If you want to build a revenue stream where a few top fans support you more than many low spenders, these strategies will shift your mindset and your income. It's not just about content, it's about experience. And lastly, remember, if you're a creator watching this and you're interested in booking a call with me and my team directly to specifically discuss chatting over anything else, use that link I have pinned in the comments of this video and we can figure out if there's a fit or not. Otherwise, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.